All right. Thank you, everybody, for showing up today. Today, we're going to be doing a training on just taking a deeper dive into our Drupal platform. So, what we're going to be doing today is just going to be going over a little bit more in depth with the actual layout builder on your site, just so you guys can get familiar with it. The layout builder itself. Once you kind of get used to it, it's pretty powerful. You can kind of do a lot of different things with it. So we're going to kind of go in. We're going to create layouts. We're going to create those custom blocks. We're going to learn how to use like reusable blocks as well. So if you put it in one place, you can use it somewhere else on your website as well. And then if you update it, it updates it everywhere on the site itself. We're going to be going a little bit over just responsive design, how you build out those layouts so they are responsive in the way that you want them to be. And then we'll get a little creative with what we can do with individual pages itself. So we are going to be building off of the last training, which was kind of just the basics, kind of just going over, introducing ourselves with the platform itself. So we're going to just assume some knowledge there. So, but if you do have any questions on anything, just to refresher, just let me know. We can kind of cover it real quick. But first, I just do want to introduce myself in case you haven't worked with me before. My name is Vincent Salgado. I am the lead for the agency platform team. We also have William Sizemore here, who is our business analyst, who I'm sure you guys have heard from as you sent out notifications for various things, updates, trainings, and other things as well. But let's go ahead and jump to it. So this is going to be a hands-on training. So I'm going to send you a link so you guys can all just visit the training site and you can kind of follow along. I'm going to ask you guys to do a few exercises just so you can kind of get in there, get used to playing around with the site, and then you can kind of create stuff on your own, and then you can ask any questions you may run into. So the username and the password, training user for the username and the password with capital P, 1234, and I'll send you the link here right now. I'm sending you a couple links here. The first link is going to be directly to the training site itself, and then the following one is where you're going to go in to sign in. So I'll give everybody about a couple minutes to do so. Let me know if anybody has any questions. While you guys are doing that, I'm also going to throw in another link here. This is just a lorem ipsum generator. It's the one that I use. It's just called Cupcake Ipsum. So just in case as you're trying to put in some dummy content in there, you can go ahead and just generate something there just for you to copy and paste. Hey, Paul, I just saw that you joined. I'm going to throw in a link here so you can follow along here. So I don't think it shows the previous stuff since before you've been in here, but I'm just going to give you a link to our training site that we're going to be working on, as well as where to log in. So I'll give you about a minute to do so.
Thanks.
All right, I'm going to go jump over to the site itself. So once you guys log in, you'll probably see that you have that member for, so many months. So that just kind of is an indicator that you're signed in. The other indicator, obviously, is going to be the admin bar that's here to the left itself. In case you are not familiar with the buttons yet, make sure to expand that out just so it's kind of easier for you to kind of go through and highlight over what you were looking for here. And then the other indication that you are logged in, you'll see this feedback button here to the bottom right. That just allows you to create tickets from our last training. So I'm going to jump in though real quick. What I'm going to do, I'm going to start here. I'm going to start with just building out a basic page. We'll just run through that real quick, and then we're going to jump into the layout builder just so we can play around with it more. So first, I'm going to go to content. I'm going to go to add content, and I'm just going to start with the basic page. Anytime that you want to kind of create that page, you want to create something with a unique look and feel, always kind of start out with the basic page. The basic page is a good what you use to kind of just structure out your main menu as well. Just kind of gives you a foundation, and then from there you can kind of continue to build on to that page and add whatever content that you would like. So this one, I'm going to call it my cool page. To get started here in the body itself, I will throw in some lorem ipsum here. I'm just going to generate some here from Cupcake Ipsum. Grab a couple paragraphs and throw it in here. All right, so while creating this basic page, I'm just going to go over here. I'm going to just go through. I do want to add it to the main menu. So just like we did in our last training, just select provide a main menu link, and then you can title it whatever you want. And then I'm going to add it. The parent link is going to be the main navigation, which is going to give me that top level navigation. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then I will leave everything else as the default here. I'm going to go ahead and click save. And my cool page has been created. And if you can see here to the top, you will see on the main menu, it is the top level navigation for the main menu itself. So I'm going to go ahead and just minimize this to give me a little bit more screen real estate. And yeah, so we have our page here that we're going to be working with. So just like we did with in our last lesson, we're going to jump into that layout builder just to kind of refresh your memory. Once you have the page created and you're taking a look at it, you'll see these tabs here at the top. You can go ahead and click on layout. Layout is what's going to bring you to that layout builder so you can add in those different components, those basic blocks, and throw them onto your page here as well. So the first thing we're going to do, just to kind of refresh from our last training, I'm going to go ahead and in that first section, because it does span across the entire width of the page, I'm going to add in a banner in here to kind of start off here with. So I'm going to click on add block, pulls up that menu over here to the right, the big blue button at the top. I'm going to go ahead and select create custom block. I'm going to click on that, and then the one I want to use is going to be banner. I'm going to click on banner, and then now I have the fields to fill out here for the banner itself. So I'm just going to leave the very top title as the default. This title I'm going to call my cool page. Start off with. Leave the description blank. Don't need a link. Again, if you did want to put a button on your banner, you can go ahead and throw in whatever link that you want. You can link it to an internal page. If I were to type in something like about, it will pull up different content that I've already created. So I can link directly to the about page or the news about Arizona news article. So you can always do that as well. But in this case, I am going to just go ahead and leave it blank and not have any text button or there. So, but I am going to throw in the banner image itself. So here I'm going to open up the media library. I'm going to select something from what we previously had. So let me find something in here. Let's just go with this one here. I have it selected. Just go down, insert selected, and it puts that image in for use. And then I'm going to add in an image overlay. This is a pretty light image. It's going to have white text on it. It's going to be kind of hard to read, but I know if I put that image overlay in, it's going to make it easier to read there. I'm going to go ahead and add the block. So now that I add the block, scroll up to the top. Now I can see my my banner there looks good. I'm going to go ahead and save the layout itself. So just so you guys are aware, as you guys are starting to work and play around with the layout builder itself, if I went ahead and just, if I was in that layout builder and I added in that banner image, and I were just to leave this without saving it, without clicking save layout. So if I went to home, and then if I went back to my cool page here, it would not have that banner in there because I never saved the layout itself. However, you haven't lost the work that you were doing. If you just go back to the layout builder itself, click on layout, it should still be there. So, and then once it's there, make sure to save it. So once you save it, it will go ahead and just populate on the page that is published. So just be aware of that in case you do accidentally go to a new page without saving it. Always go back to the layout builder and you should see it there. But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and just click save layout here. So now that I have my banner in there, it's kind of looking how I want it to do. This kind of just gives us an idea of getting back into the familiarity with the layout builder. Does anybody have any questions on this? This is kind of just a review from where we last left off with our training. Okay. So now that we've kind of gotten familiar, we've created that banner image. Want to go back in and kind of just take a look at just creating another block to kind of add on to what we have here already. So going back into the layout builder, what we did in our last training was kind of just going over the stuff that's the default. But in case we want to kind of start moving stuff around, we can go ahead and do that. And we can start kind of creating this page however we want. So first I want to go over just adding in just blocks of information in here and the stuff that we want to do. So for this one in particular, for this page, I don't want to have my my body in here. I'm going to just go ahead and just start with something fresh. You can always add this back in case you do remove it, but I'm going to go ahead and remove this for right now. It just removed that body from when I first created that basic page, but I can always add it back in at a later time. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that. And I'm also going to remove this placeholder for the main navigation. So what this placeholder is, it's on every single basic page. So if you go ahead and start creating pages that are nested under something else in a certain section of the website. So for this case, a My Cool page, if I created another page, just we'll call it My Cool subpage, and I were to put it under My Cool page in the main menu, this block automatically will build out that menu for that section of the website itself. So you guys don't have to worry about that. But just note that that's what this placeholder is for. You can always remove it and you can add it back in later if you choose to. So for this one, I'm just going to remove this one as well for this particular page that I'm working on. So I'm going to remove that block. And now I have nothing in that section 3. So now those things are blank. Obviously, you can put in other content that you feel is going to be necessary for this page, or you can start kind of building out in the other sections that we have here. So for this one, as an example, in section 2, below the title that I have here, and also the breadcrumb that's right above it, I want to add in a card block, a card set here. So I'm going to go ahead and add block just like we did with the banner, and I want to go ahead and click on create custom block. I'm going to go down to card set. Now, in case just to kind of remind everybody here, you do have the ability to select any of these custom blocks. And I recommend on your guys' test sites that you guys have, or you guys are working on something, play around with what these are. Kind of fill out the fields that come up as you're doing it, just so you can kind of get an idea of what each of these do. You can also take a look under landing page. And then if you scroll down to available components, that will go through each of the blocks, kind of show you the different layouts that it has, the different looks and feels, and also kind of just showing off all of them, just so you can kind of get an example of what each of these do. But for this case, what I want to do here is just I want to create a simple card set. So I'm going to go ahead and click on card set. And I'll keep the title as the basic. I'm not displaying that, so that's fine there. I'll keep it there as the default. The card type I want to do, you can select what type of card you're going to do. This will change the layout a little bit, so you can kind of play around with it. It's something you can kind of switch easily between, just so you can kind of see what the differences are, and you just kind of want to, and then you kind of select whichever one fits your site the best. For this example, I'm just going to choose the basic card. The view mode, I'm going to change to a 3-column. So that's going to give me 3 cards side by side with each other. So I can just kind of throw it in there, and we can change that around. And I'll show you guys that here in a second. But I'm going to go ahead and create my first card. So for this one, I'm just going to call it card 1. I'm going to go ahead and add in the image that goes along with that card itself. So I'm just going to select... We'll select this one right here. This coral reef, Germany. Insert selected. So that looks good there. In the URL, I'm going to throw in, let's say this is going to take us to the about page, or this is the news about Arizona. It's a news article there. And then I'll link the text, and I'll just put more info here. And then lastly, in the body, I'm going to jump over to Cupcake Ipsum. And then I'm just going to create some paragraphs here to kind of start off with, and I will highlight what is here. Jump back over to my page, and in the body, just writing a short description that goes along with the card. And in case you guys aren't familiar with what a card is, you're going to see here what it's going to look like and kind of how you can use it for your site. So that is the first card that I have here that I am creating. Everything looks good. I got my image. I got my title for that card. I got the link that I wanted to link off to, and I need to create 2 more cards. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Add Card. This brings up a whole new set of fields that are all blank. So as you can see here, it's put right below the last one I made. So this one I'm going to call Card 2. In my media library, I'm going to go ahead and add in another image. I'll use this one here. This cactus and an art piece. Wait for it to load. Oops, I think I do that again. There we go. So that image is now in there, and then I'm going to throw in another link. This one will go to the About Us page. I'll just put more info here, and then in the body, throw in that form ipsum, and then add one more card in here. So this one, lastly, call it card 3. Added media. I will take this one here. Select that. And then throw in the last one, which is, let's have this link to landing page 3. More info. Actually, this one I'm going to change out. Just obviously, you can see I'm looking up content that's already created on my site to kind of make it easy. However, I can do a full URL here as an example. Let's just do google.com right here. If you are doing an external link, make sure you have the whole web address in there with the HTTPS, so it'll work. And then in the body, I'm just going to throw in again the lorem ipsum, and then I'm going to go ahead. Now that I have my 3 cards in there, I'm going to add the block to my page. and it has created these cards here. So it shows a bit of the image that's here, and then it has the title of the card, the description, and then the button that will link off to the various pages that I set it for. So I'm gonna go ahead. That looks good to me. Go ahead and click Save Layout. And now I have my cards created here. And then go ahead. If I click on that one, this will take me to the news about Arizona, which it does here. And then this one will take me to Google itself. Not that you can see where it's linking off to, but it's opening up on a new tab. So those appear to be working, looking good. Now, these images, when they were first uploaded to the site, whoever uploaded them had to go through that cropping, and they cropped it for the cards beforehand. So that way I didn't have to redo it. So those are already set. So in case you are uploading your own image, just note that you will have to go through that through the cropping prompts. So make sure to crop everything just so that way you can reuse it wherever else on the site, and then it will automatically look good for you. Does anybody have any questions on this? Kind of what we ran through. All right. So before we jump into our first activity, I do want to show you something here, just so you can kind of get an idea. So now that we have the three cards side by side, I just want to kind of show you, you can easily, now that you have it created and you kind of want to have something different, you can kind of take a look at what those different look and feels are. How do we go about editing that, or even adding on additional cards? So as an example here, I'm just going to go back into editing this card. So when you click on this, make sure to avoid anything that says quick edit. The functionality that's built within Drupal 9 is still work in progress, and it's something that's not quite working right, and it has broken some people, not broken people's sites. It's just kind of a hard, it's a difficult fix to kind of get around, and then once you do it, you're fine. You're not losing any content or anything like that, but just try to avoid it anywhere where it says quick edit. I'm going to go ahead and just click on configure here because I want to jump back into these cards that I have created. So now that I have those, take a look at the cards. The cards look fine. If I wanted to, I can take these. I can take where it has these little drag and drops, and I can drag it so the card 2 will be first, so you can easily kind of move those things around. So you have that ability. Do you want to move things around? But what I wanted to show you here is that I wanted to apologize for all my scrolling, but I wanted to change what that card type looks like. So we have what we have here. If I go ahead and I say I want an image action card instead, and I scroll down and then update it, click on update, it will go ahead and it creates a different kind of look and feel for those cards. So you do have the ability to kind of switch between the two, take a look at what is there, just so you can see what works best for your site. So you can do it so all the cards are the same throughout your site, which I recommend to do. But in case you did want to kind of mix and match things, you can do that as well. Now, if I go back to the configure, and let's say I want to go back to the basic card look, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I also want to add in one more card here. So I'm going to add in card 4. So this one brings up another set of fields here. Going to go ahead, call this card 4. Add in an image from the media library. Let's select. See what do we got here. I will go ahead and select this one. Since they're selected, looks good to me. URL, we will do HTTPS www. How about yahoo.com? I don't know if anyone still goes there, but more info. And then lastly, put in the body, look good, and I will update it. So Now that I updated, you will see that I have gone back to that original card look. That's just what I want to do for my particular page. And then as you can see here, that fourth card, it does add it, and it starts to add it to the bottom. So it starts creating another row of 3 cards. So you can continue to add on as many cards as you will like. So just know that you can kind of add in there and keep going, and it will do it in the 3 columns itself. However, if you have 4 cards in there, but you only had 4 cards, but you wanted them side by side with each other, you do have the ability to choose how many columns are you going to be working with here. So for the view mode for this one, I can switch it to 4 columns. Go ahead and update it here. And just like that, it puts them all side by side with each other. But in case you did want them a little bit bigger, if I go back to the configure and make it 2 columns, it'll make the cards bigger. It evens it out, but it gives you a little bit kind of a better view of things here. Just depends. This is all going to be preference. So then I update it. Boom, there it is. So now I have my 4 cards. And then obviously, like we were doing before, you can keep adding cards on and just use however many columns that you would like. But that is it. Kind of wanted to show you that to kind of run through that. I'm going to go ahead and click Save Layout. I want to work with here. And then we can dive into our first task that we have here. So now that we've kind of gone through that, I'm going to have you guys kind of run through the same thing here. So I want you to go to content. You're going to create a basic page. The title can be whatever it is that you want. Don't worry about putting anything in the body. You can leave it blank. And then you add it to the main menu, make the parent link My Cool Page. You can go ahead and click Save. And then go to the layout at the top, go into the layout builder, and then remove the body block, remove the menu block, and then at the bottom of the page, actually ignore these last two rows. I haven't gone through this with you guys, but I want you to do everything up to 8, and then make sure you add in a banner and add in that the card set that we just did. And then let me know if you have any questions. Yeah, if you go up to step 8, you could go ahead and, like I said, just create a card set in that section 2. And then once you do that, I'll run through those last 2 steps with you guys, and you can go ahead and follow along with that. Okay, does anybody have any questions so far? Okay, so while you guys are working on that, I'm going to jump back over to the site. I'm going to cover those last two steps here. So let's jump back to the site itself. So here's my page. I already see that some of you guys have already created those pages here under my cool page. So that's good. So those last two steps, what I want to go over here is I'm going to jump back into the layout builder itself. So now that I've kind of removed those blocks that I needed below here under section 3, I want to add in an entire new section. So what a section is that is going to allow me to have these regions with to be able to add in those custom blocks. So by default, we have our section 1, which is just a region here for items like slideshows or banners. Then we have our section 2, which is kind of this one column look and feel that allows you to put in custom blocks into just one column that will stretch the length of just the content right here. But it has these gutters or these sidebars here that kind of just give it some white space. And then in the section 3, we do have a 2-column look. About 75% is on the left, while 25% here is on the right. And what that means is that you'll see here in a second, but it just kind of tells you the percentage of how much this is taking up in this section itself. So what I want to do is I want to add in an additional section here. So I'm going to go ahead and here, click on add section. And in the section, I have the ability to select how many columns do I want. So what this allows me to do is that I can add in as many columns as I need to be able to kind of throw in blocks of information. So this one, for example, I'm going to go ahead and select Bootstrap 3 columns here. So when I select that, it gives me this option of how do I want those 3 columns to look. Do I want it boxed? So what boxed means is that it's going to have the white space on the left and right. So that will line up directly with the other sections itself, which is what you're going to do for most cases. But if you do want to play around with edge to edge, what edge to edge is going to do, it's going to function like it does here in this section 1. So it goes from one edge of the website to the other edge. So that works great for banners and slideshows. So just be aware of that. But you'll mostly just want to go with boxed with gutters. And if you go edge to edge, make sure to go with no gutters. So it gives you that full length of the website look and feel. So I'm going to go ahead with the boxed with the gutters. And then down here, I have the ability to select how do I want my 3 columns that I'm creating here to appear. Do I want them all to be equal on the desktop where they can all be 33%? Do I want the one that's on the left to be bigger than the other 2, where it fills up half of it for the first one and then 25% and 25% on the next 2? In this case, for example, I'm just going to go ahead and select just so it's equal for all of it. So as you can see here, these percentages are also categorized out for desktop, tablet, and mobile. So you could have it look different depending on what is the device that the person is looking at for your website itself. So if they're on desktop, they're going to see it's going to be equal distance or equal columns for that. In the tablet, I can make it so it is maybe the left side is a little bit bigger while the other 2 are a little bit smaller in case you wanted to do that. Or you can have it just jump directly to 100%, meaning that it will take each of those columns, expand it out so it covers the whole width of that section, and then they will stack on top of each other. So, but in this case, I know for the tablet, I'm just going to make sure that it looks good and have it just have it be equal there. But for mobile, and about 99% of the time, mobile will always look good if you just keep it at 100%. So when it gets to somebody's looking at it from the mobile device, it will just stack on top of each other and it will take the whole length. If I kept it at 33%, everything on the phone itself, especially if you're looking at your phone from a portrait standpoint, which most people do, it will start to scrunch everything together and it will not look good. The whole formatting will break. So just go ahead and just click 100%. So when someone pulls it up a phone, it's just stacked on top of each other. So I'm good there. I'm gonna add my section in there. So now that I have my section in here, you will see that, okay, here are the 3 columns I have, and I have the ability to add in blocks of information. Again, those blocks can be simple. They can be simple, just text, basic blocks. They could be images. They could be videos. Whatever you feel like whatever you feel is going to be best for your site. Kimberly, to answer your question, I think it does I think it does make you make a selection. I think those are required selections. So I don't think you can save the uh, the new section without selecting something from those two things, or those 3 if you include the desktop. So for this one as an example, now that I have my section created, I have my columns, it looks good. I have the gutters that are in there. It all lines up with the above content. You can go ahead and just start adding in blocks of information. Now for this one, as an example, I'm just going to go ahead, create that custom block, and I'm going to add in, let's just do Google Maps, make this simple. I will add in the address that I have here, copy that, add the block. It will throw in a Google Maps in there for me. I can add in, let's throw in some text here, maybe to talk about what this Google Map is. So here's the basic block. I'm just going to throw in some lorem ipsum in here. And then I'm going to add that. And then the last thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to throw in a random image. Let's go to image here, this image block. Again, keep things default. I could throw in the image itself. I'll just select something from the media library. Looks good to me. And then I'm going to add the block here. So as you can see here, it kind of just puts these images together. I mean, it has the image, and then it has here's our basic block that we did, and then here's our location. Formatting is okay. It's obviously not the best thing. You probably format this a little bit better. You can expand on this so it kind of all evens out, but kind of gives you an idea that you can kind of just start throwing in blocks of information. So that looks good to me. I'm going to go ahead and click Save Layout. So as you can see here, here's my other information I put down here, my 3 columns that I created. And then I can go ahead and start. And I added in my map, my image, and my text here. Does anybody have any questions on that? Okay, I'll give everybody a couple more minutes just to do those last 2 steps there. So go ahead, go through that process of creating that new section at the very bottom of your basic page. Make it Bootstrap column 3. So it gives you 3 columns. And then go ahead and add in just a basic block to each of the columns. You can just throw in some random text, and then you should be good. Let me know if anybody has any questions. I'm going to give you guys a couple more minutes here to do that. Okay, so does anybody have any questions on just creating this kind of layout for the page that they've been doing, playing around with these, adding in new sections? Anybody have any questions on that? All right, I'm going to jump back over to the website here. So now that we have these created, I'm going to go ahead and refresh here. We have some pages already created. I'm just going to select one here as an example. It lets me. Sorry, my browser's acting all weird right now. Anyway, so here's just an example. So we have just a basic page. It has the 3 columns here that we asked for. They put in some different blocks. You can see some blocks, they could work depending on, it's just an image with text side by side. This could work if you're doing multiple ones and kind of stacking them up on that. Should look nice. But in case it is something, some blocks work better in certain situations than others. So definitely just kind of move some stuff around to kind of play around with it. But this kind of gives you an example here. So, but as what we've been doing is that there's a lot of these things that I've been creating or that we've been creating. However, I can only use it on that particular page. So for this as an example, if I wanted to use this, this is an image with a text. So they're side by side with each other. If I wanted to use this one, I would have to either recreate it on my page or what I can do is that there's a method where I can create reusable blocks. So if I create that reusable block, I can use it on as many pages as I want. So I'm going to show you how you go about doing that. So what we've been doing this entire time, when we go ahead and we're creating content or we're creating those blocks for our pages, what we've been doing is just going ahead and just clicking on add block here. It pops up this menu, and then I select create custom block. That is only creating a block that I can use one time for this particular page. And if I want to use it again, I will have to recreate it. However, that's not very conducive sometimes to when we're creating content for our websites. We kind of want to use something and then be able to use it again on different pages. And then if I update it one place, it will update everywhere. So in order to do that, we aren't going to create it the way that we've been doing it, because this will be the case for about 80% of the time that you're creating content for your site. You're only going to use it for that one page. Go and do it that way. This new method, what I'm going to show you, I would not do it so you just create it for every single block that you plan on using, because if you're only using it once, all it's doing is just filling up that library, and it's going to be harder to kind of find things that you actually do need to reuse. So just be aware of that. So for this one, as an example, I'm going to go to the structure on the admin menu, and then I'm going to go to block layout. And under block layout, I have 2 things here we can look at. I can look at add a custom block, or I can go to the custom block library. But let's start with the custom block library. So when I go to the custom block library, what I have here are all the reusable blocks that people have created on the site itself. So I can go ahead and just grab one of these, and I wanted to put it onto the page. I could do that, but I'm going to kind of walk you through of how to create that reusable block so it's available to you, so you can put it on any page that you want. So now that I'm in this custom block library, I can look through to see what we already have. So in case you do notice that there's something out there, you can always look for it there. But in the top corner, you'll see the add custom block here on this custom block library. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And that's going to give me to this menu where it has all the different block types that we have. So it's the same block that we've been using. However, this is just in the library itself, so I can create that reusable block. So for this one, as an example, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create. We'll do a mission and vision here as an example. So I'm going to go ahead and select what do we got here? Let's do banner image here. You'll see what this looks like here in a second. I'm going to go ahead and just select one of these from the images from the Historical Society. Insert that as my banner. I am going to add in title here. Let's call it mission. Description. I'm just going to grab something here from our Cupcake Ipsum. I'm going to add in an icon image. I'm going to click on that. I know I have something in my media library that I can use. Select this one here, example. Insert that. I'll add in one more card here. Actually, a couple more. Let's do vision. We'll throw in a description. Then I'll add in an icon image again. I'll take this one from DPS. Let's go back. Let's do it again. Something happened. Okay, that is in there. And then I'll do one last one here. We'll just put other throw a description in there, and I'll add in the same logo as the first one. So that looks good to me. I'm gonna go ahead and then actually at the very top, one thing I forgot to tell you guys. So for the block description, this is where usually for the block description or sometimes we'll call it title, usually want to leave it just kind of like whatever. But in this case, we do want to name it something relative. So I know that this is, so I know what to look up here. So this one's called Mission and Vision, but I also put my name in here just so I can pull it up. So I'm gonna go ahead and just say Mission and Vision, Vincent. So now when I look for it later, it'll be easy to find. Go ahead and click save. And it has now added this block that I created and put it into the my library. So now it's available for me to use on various pages. I obviously have not added it anywhere yet, but we're going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go ahead, click on this teardrop at the top to go back to the home page. I'm going to navigate to my cool page that I've been working on. And below this card set, I'm going to clean this up a little bit so it's not so big. I'm just going to make this card set so it is 4 columns to make it smaller. Just change that real quick. Update that. You know, I'm going to add in another section in here, and we'll go over the reason why I did that later. Just a 1 column is going to be below the other ones. Can add in the section. So here's my new section I can work with. Click on add block. So when I click on add block, just like I've been doing with, just like how we have been doing with the different types of custom blocks that we've been creating, instead of me going up to this big blue button and selecting custom block, I am going to scroll down on this list. This list allows me to pull up stuff that I could use. So I can look into the custom section here and find all of the reusable blocks that I've created and then be able to select it there. We obviously have a lot because we've been using this for trainings, but this kind of just shows you as an example is that when you create a lot of reusable blocks, it will fill this up and it makes it a little bit harder to find things. So that's why I say just use it when you know you're going to reuse that block itself. So for this one, as an example, I can select mission and vision here, Vincent, because I already named it that way. I know which one exactly, the one I just created. I can also search for it by up here in the filter by block name. So I can just put my name, Vincent. So here it has 2 custom blocks that I created. We have the mission and vision, which we want to use, and then the Vincent accordion, something from previous training. So I'm just going to select mission and vision here. I'll leave the title default here. We change it, and then I'm just going to add the block here. So what this does is this has added in now my mission and vision block here. In case you guys have not played around with that before, it kind of just gives it this cool kind of graphic, different cards here, kind of just show you you do the mission, vision, and anything else that you would like. So you do have that ability here. It looks good to me, so I'm gonna go ahead and click Save Layout. Oops. So as you can see here, I have now added that onto my page. And if I wanted to, what I can go ahead and do is that I can go to another page here. I'm going to go to the Brownies page here as an example. And then below, I'm just going to see below the title itself, I'm just going to quickly add in the same mission and vision that I created. So I'm just going to look for it up real quick. Name, there's my mission and vision. Add the block. So that looks good there. I can save the layout. And there it is. So as you can see here, it allows me to kind of easily just run through the site, put it where I would like it to be. And then in case I ever wanted to just change something. So let's say for that banner image, I wanted to swap it out for something different. If I go to this one and I click on the pencil icon, I click on edit here, it's always going to be either edit or configure. So for this one, for example, I'm just going to remove this one. I'm going to add in, whoops, I actually don't want to do this. Sorry, I'm editing the image itself. That's not what I want to do. I forgot I need to go to the layout itself. So back into the layout builder. So for this one, I can go to configure. That's not what I want either. There's usually a configure that I could do, but if you need to go back into the actual mission and vision, we're going to go back to the custom block library. I'm going to edit it here. And remove this banner image. I'm going to put something else in there. And let us use, let's do this beach one here. Insert selected. It's good there. Go ahead and click save. Let's go back to the home page. I click on my cool page where I added that mission and vision. And as you can see here, it has updated that banner image. But if I also go back to the Brownie page, it is updated there as well. So it just allows you to, now that you have all of those placed, if you edit it one place, it will change in all the places. Does anybody have any questions on that particular? Okay, so we're going to run back into our, actually, before I do that, I'm going to just remove this from the Brownies page. Go back to the layout here. Just going to go ahead and remove block. And of course, with this being a reusable block, if I remove it, I can easily add it back in. However, if this was not a reusable block and just a regular custom block that you created for the page. If you remove it, it's deleted. So you'll have to recreate it in case you accidentally delete something. So just be aware of that. So now that that's removed, I'm just going to go ahead and save it on this page. But we will jump into our next task that we have here. So I'm going to share this tab. And I want you to create your own reusable block. So you're going to go to your structure, go to block layout, custom block library. You're going to click on the big blue button that says add custom block. Then you're going to select text with image. So create a text with image, give the title something that is relevant so you can find it later, and then fill out all the fields, add in an image, save the block, and then go to the content overview page so you can kind of see, you can find your page there. And then go to the layout view and then place your block into two different areas on the same page. I'll give you guys a few minutes to do that. Let me know if anybody has any questions. All right. Does anybody have any questions so far? All right, I'm going to jump back into the website here, and we have about 20 minutes left, so I do want to cover this last bit of information here. So I'm going to jump back over to the site. Just going to refresh. Okay, so as we see here, we do have some. We have the chocolate chip brownie here as an example. So for this one, what I want to do is that I want to take a look at that. I want to throw it into my own page itself. So I'm going to go ahead and just figure out what this one is called. So I know it's there. Actually, I could also look for it in the custom block library. So we do have a couple here. We have the chocolate chip one, we have this test one, and the HRD test. So that's good here. So I'm going to select just one of those here. I'm going to do the chocolate chip brownies. I am going to add it to my page itself. I can go to the homepage and just go directly to my page, or I can go to the content, and I'm going to select my cool page that I've been working on. Takes me to my page. Going to go to layout. And in the layout, I am going to go ahead and in this section, I am going to, actually, I'll throw it into section 3. And all the sections in here are kind of jumbled, but we're just doing it for testing purposes here. So I'm going to go ahead and look up chocolate chip brownie. There we go. Good to me. And my text with image side by side has been added onto this page. So I'm just going to go ahead and save it. Looks good to me. And we are good to go. So that kind of gives you an overview of kind of just doing those custom blocks, a reusable one. So now you can use it throughout the website as you see fit. And obviously you can even add it into multiple places on the same page itself. Does anybody have any questions on any of that information before we jump into our next part? All right. So now that we've kind of gotten used to really playing around with what we can do with custom blocks, we can create reusable ones, we can create one-time use ones, we can create cards, we can create banners, whatever it is that we can make our site, kind of look and feel nice. So one thing we want to do is that we want to start kind of playing around with what else is available in the layout builder itself. So one of the first things that you might notice as you start building in new sections, this one in particular is not the worst, but you can see here that there is some, it does start to squeeze together sometimes. So when you are creating different sections and adding blocks, you might notice that they could squeeze together. So what we can do is that we can start expanding the white space that is in between certain sections itself. So if I go back into the layout builder and I go to this section in particular that has that mission and vision information here, if I click on configure section, and this is true for any of the sections that we do, I'm going to click on that. That's going to pull up the menu here to the right. So I can change things around. So if I wanted it to be a full edge to edge look, I can go ahead and switch it back up so it does the same thing here. But in this case, I just kind of want to keep it the same. What else we have here is that we have the style that's at the very top. You see these tabs. We have the layout, which is the default that opens up to. We have our style. The style allows us to either add in a background image, add a color to the background, add in a different typography that goes along with it. What is the color that goes along? How is it the text aligned in this particular section? And we have spacing. That's what we're going to kind of mess around with here a little bit to add some white space above and below. And then we have you can add in a border, and you can change what that border looks like for each of the things. You can have it just at the top to kind of separate two sections, or and you can control what that border radius looks like, what that color is going to be. And then lastly, you have your animations here at the bottom, and we'll go over that here in a second. So those are the various styles that you can do. And then we have our settings. Settings is kind of more if you want to get into, if you're doing kind of some custom CSS on your site itself and you wanted to add in some wrapper classes, you can add in some YAML here as well. You have the ability to do that. You can set it from the container itself as a whole. You can do things by rows, or you could do things by columns. So this one only has one column, but if I had 3 columns, you can set a class for each of those columns. But that's a little bit more advanced than what we're going to get into today, so don't worry about that. But in case you are starting to, you want to do some custom CSS, HTML, and you kind of need a quick way to kind of throw in some classes, that's how you can go ahead and do that. It's very helpful. But I want to stick with the style. I want to add in some white space. So here in the spacing, which is going to be common, something you might use when you're creating out these landing pages that you have the ability to select what the spacing is going to be on different sides. So you can do the top, just the top. You can do just the bottom, left, right, wherever you feel is going to be the best. You can just worry about the padding. Don't worry so much about the margin. They're two different things, but they kind of will function for the most part the same. So only just worry about the padding itself. And here I do want to add some padding to the top and to the bottom. So I have to select top, bottom, and kind of configure here. So when I select top, here I got the padding top. I can use the scroll bar to however many pixels I want to have it padded. So what I've noticed is that 64 is a pretty good. It's not really 64 pixels. It's kind of just a padding that allows you to kind of give it a good amount of space. 64 is what I find to be the best. So I do that to the top. I will do the same to the bottom itself. Go to 64, and then just go ahead and update it here. When I update it, when I scroll back up, you will notice that there is some white space that's here to the top, and it's also added to the bottom as well equally. So when I go ahead and click Save Layout, it does give that mission and vision that I am doing here just a little bit more space. If you're familiar with kind of how pixels work and stuff, you can see it doesn't look like it's 64 pixels because 64 pixels can be kind of big sometimes, but this one, it doesn't move it too much, but it does kind of give it a nice, just a little bit of a buffer between sections itself. So that looks good there. The next thing I want to do, I'm going to jump back into the layout. I'm going to configure that section one more time. One thing I want to do is I want to add in a background image itself. I'm just going to do something light gray here, or I can use these two right here. They look like they're blank, but they're just matching what's going on with the theme. So depending on the theme that you choose, these colors will change. I'm going to actually choose color 1 here. It's going to be a light blue. I've played around with it before, so that should be good there. And then I'm just going to scroll down, and I do also want to add in an animation here. So I'm going to do the fade up animation. Play around with the animations themselves. Some of these can look ridiculous, so I would recommend just doing whatever on here. But these fade up, fade downs, fade left, right, those ones are very subtle, but I think it adds a lot to your site. Just kind of give it a little something. But some of these other ones can be a little ridiculous, like zooming in and out. It's going to look weird on your site. But play around with them, see what's there, see what you like. So I usually just like the fade up transition. So I'm going to go ahead and update it here. So as you can see here, it has added in that background image. You will notice that there is some white behind these blocks that are here. But just note that it will change the look when I click Save Layout. So let's take a look here. So when I select that and I scroll down, you will notice a few things here. First, that white box is not there anymore. That was more so for the layout builder, just so it's easier to kind of see the content that you're doing. You can see it added in this light blue background, and then it has some padding that's here to the top. If I didn't add that padding in there, it's going to be really close to that border, and it's not going to quite look right. So that's where you'll notice it the best is when you start to add in colored backgrounds. So that looks good to me. And as you can see here, this section is just right on top of the next part. So that I can also add in some padding there to kind of give it some, but you could kind of see why we add in those paddings in there as we are starting to build these things out. So this page is kind of looking more like how I like it. One thing I didn't mention is that when I scroll down here, you will notice that it does have that little bit of a fade up, and it will do it to just that entire section. You can have it set for every section as you're scrolling down on the page, that each of them will kind of slowly fade up. It's not that big. It's not that noticeable, but it adds a little bit of a subtle something to your site just to kind of work around with, to kind of give it a good, unique look and feel. So we've kind of gone over to add in colors, add in padding to those sections. You can even add in a total dedicated section that could be something a little bit more kind of as an alert. We do have alert content type, but just something kind of make it a little bit stand out. So for example, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to get rid of this section here. I'm just going to delete it out. Remove this section. So when I do that, it's just going to remove all the blocks that are in there as well, just so you're aware, in case you do remove an entire section. So we have this one. So it allows me to do this one. I'm going to add in some padding at the top of this section that I created, because I know it's going to be right on top of that blue. So go to the style. I can make it, I'll show you just things to play around here. I'm going to make it center. So this is going to center all the text that I might have in here. So it will center this text without me having to do it within that block individually. So you do have that ability to do that. Add the padding at the top. I'm going to add 64. Bottom is be 64. That's good there. I'll do a fade up animation on this one as well. Save it. I will add in one more section here. So make it one column, make it boxed. I'm going to add in a red background. Now this could be a little bit too much, but I just kind of want to show you what you're able to do here. I'm going to make the text white. I'm going to make it so it aligns center anything that I put in there. The spacing, going to do the same thing I've done to the other ones. Go to 64. And then lastly, I'm going to add in the fade up animation in here as well. Add this new section that I have here. As you guys can see, it has a red background. I'm going to add a block. I'm going to create a basic block here. I'm just going to throw in, this is something cool I can do. That looks good here. I am going to make it bold. I am going to make it so it is heading to something a little bit bigger. And then I'm going to add the block. One thing that we do need to fix for our platform is that it did create that basic block. It still has that white background. And because that white background is on white text, it's not showing. It's technically there. That's something that we're just going to fix. So just note, in case you do run into that, that's what's going on. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll up, save the layout. And when I scroll down, we'll notice some things here. So obviously there's my animation of it popping in for the mission and vision. I scroll down more, this pops into, this has a little bit of some white space, so it's not right on that border. So that looks good there. And then when I lastly scroll down, you will notice here is that little bit of alert banner thing that I created. Just something simple with some text, added some color, added in some, the animation to kind of go along with it. So it kind of matches up with the rest of the page. And there you have it. And obviously you can experiment with different blocks that kind of go along in there. But does anybody have any questions on kind of stylizing and working with the actual layout builder to do some padding, do some animation? Does anybody have any questions on any of that? So we are getting pretty close on time. I will stick around, but we do have this last task to just get creative. So with that landing page that you have, add in color for one of those sections. You can add in 3 different custom blocks in different areas, add some spacing to those sections, to all the sections, to kind of give it a little bit of a buffer and some breathing room. And then let me know as you guys are kind of going through this. Let me know if you have any questions on anything. And I'll jump back to this page, but just to kind of go over, just to let everybody know as we are coming to a close here, our next training is going to be February, actually, I should say 8th right there, February 8th, 2023. So at 12 o'clock, in case you guys want an invite, just let us know. We can shoot you off an invite to that. But you also get a reminder from Will next week. And let me know if there are any questions. And if you do have questions, I'm just going to jump back to the task so you guys can kind of just go through that. Probably sticking around here. All right, thank you.
You ready for me to stop recording, Vincent?
Keep it going for another 3 minutes in case anybody has questions.
Sure.